Right, welcome back guys. I'm joined with a superstar,
Future, maybe.
a megastar, future Hall of Famer,
Inshallah.
Ariel Hawani.
Oh, yeah! Hawani boxing, no matter what.
I saw your interview with him recently.
Yeah.
I've not actually, people, there's videos of comparisons of you guys looking the same.
Yeah. Actually, it only started after my fight against Draco. Actually, when I did my walkout, they started posting it like crazy. No one had
They're
noticed.
saying, how's he tweeting and fighting
Yeah.
at the same time?
He was tweeting for me in between rounds. Very good.
Cool. So I wanted to start it off with a few quick fire questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So just give me your answer and a real quick why, yeah?
Okay, like short.
Short, yeah. So boxing or Muay Thai?
Muay Thai.
Just a rough why. Is there a reason or?
Well, why? Well, if you're talking about MMA, Muay Thai is gonna take you further than just boxing.
Right. Fair enough. BJJ and wrestling.
BJJ.
BJJ.
If you could only pick one.
Yeah, exactly.
If you only pick one, BJJ.
BJJ, okay. Defense or offense?
Defense.
Speed or power?
Speed.
Meat or veg?
What?
Meat.
Oh, meat.
Or
100%.
vegetables, yeah?
Yeah, meat.
Meat or veg, okay. Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Day in or day out?
What does that mean?
As in, maybe it's a British thing. Do you like to spend the day inside and chill out at home with family? Or do you prefer to go out to
Out with family.
sort out, yeah? Okay. If you, this might be a controversial one, but we like to stick it on you a little bit. If you had to choose one person to be in your corner for the rest of your fights,
It's an easy one for me.
no, hold on, wait.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you two options.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so Firaz
Yeah.
or GSP.
For us, easy.
Why? You want the why there?
For us, he's got the coach's mindset. GSP has a fighter's mindset. It's not the same. Like, GSP is great, but he's not as much of a coach as he is a competitor. And sometimes you need a coach in your corner.
What is the difference as a fighter observing that?
I'll tell you, like, because for us, he's been coaching for so long. He knows to coach you to your strength. And sometimes, if you're an inexperienced coach, you try to coach your fighter to do what your strengths are, what you had as a fighter, not necessarily what they have. So being able to separate yourself from what you teach a fighter to work for him through his attributes. You know, so I feel like Fast has a lot of experience in that, and I feel like someone who's been a competitor for a long time, you know, they see the solutions through their lens and what their solutions are for themselves, not necessarily for who I am.
So it's the understanding of the fighter, yeah?
Yeah,
So you've lived in Canada your whole life, is that right?
that's right.
If you had to leave Canada and you had to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
where would it be and why?
Man, I was talking about that with my friends yesterday, and it's hard to know where you can go, but I think somewhere where the most freedom and stuff right now, according to the climate of where you can live, I think Florida or Texas.
So it's more in regards to laws and stuff.
Laws and like if another COVID lockdown happens, if they try to force things,
Well, long
plus
term,
taxes,
yeah.
they have low taxes, they have a lot of freedom. That's what I'm more into now.
Okay. If you could choose one person to fight, these are the last two. If you could choose one person to fight from history or now, who would it be and why?
Bruce Lee for sure.
Bruce Lee,
Yeah, because he's more my size. Not that many
True.
historical fighters my size. Actually, you don't think about back in the day, it was all about heavyweights. But he's the one guy that I would be similar size to, and I would love to test myself against somebody like him.
If he was, this is a segue. If he was around now, because the knowledge we have of fighting now
Yes.
and then is different.
Yeah.
Where do you think he would sit? I'm just curious.
Well, because he was a pioneer, I think he would do his best, his utmost to catch up and to learn these things.
Well, if he was born now, let's say, like
Yeah.
born into the knowledge we have now,
He'd be incredible.
yeah,
He'd be incredible. He'd be at the top because he had the passion, the drive, and the will to do it. You know.
awesome. Yeah. And the last one is if you could have a conversation with anyone,
Yeah.
historically, alive now, whatever. It could even be, from a book or someone fictional. Who would it be?
That's an interesting question, man. I mean, what would I want to know about the world?
Just a conversation with him. Let's say you had half an hour to talk.
Yeah. It would be one of the prophets, probably Prophet Muhammad. You know.
That's the right question.
Yeah.
for the Muslims watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Just
no
to know
doubt.
about life, what's everything about?
Yeah.
How is everything? Maybe a better understanding of the Quran too.
Like, well, you stuck with me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hopefully, second best.
Yeah.
So I've watched a few of your interviews in preparation.
Okay,
to
yeah,
this,
good.
'cause one of the things I don't like to do is talk about the same stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not the most helpful for you. I couldn't find much on your upbringing and stuff, and we spoke about it the other day.
Yeah.
You said your family's from Lebanon.
Yes.
Your father moved over.
Yeah.
Was he an immigrant?
Yeah, my parents immigrated here when the Civil War was starting up. And my oldest brother, Ahmad, he's the only one of us that are born in Lebanon.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was about maybe 1 year old, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 13 months, something like that. And that's when the war broke out and my parents decided to move here. And my mom was 8 months pregnant with my second brother, Tariq.
Right.
So when she landed in Canada, like 2 months later, she gave birth. So right away they started here with 2 kids. And then Frost was born a few years later, and I was born much later, like 7 years after Frost. 8 years probably.
And what was life like growing up then in Canada? I've got it's my first time here, so
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
not even traveled much, so I don't know what it's like as a Muslim with an immigrant family.
I think it came out really good for us. Like things worked out really well. Like my dad worked super hard. Like sometimes he'd spend 2-3 days working on the cab, you know, and like he wouldn't come home. But he taxi driver. And he would, like my mom never worked. So he kept my mom stayed at home. She raised the kids. And my father worked non-stop all the time when I was really, really young. And as we got older, he started, you know, investing in another cab. So he'd have someone else renting a cab from him. So he'd rent out one, and he worked his way up until now he's finally retired. Now he's like 74. Yeah. But he did pretty decent living. He made a decent living, and we had a good life. You know?
If your dad was working a lot, I'm just curious here as well. Did you spend much time with him growing up?
Early on, not so much, but later on, like after maybe ages of 5, 6, 7, I saw him all the time. He worked less, so there was more. He had more cabs under him, you know. He had more people working for him, so he had more time. But when he was on the road early on in life, it was very hard to see him. Like my brothers barely. I spent more time with my dad than my 3 older brothers, because they had him when he was younger and he was hustling much more. And then when I came around, I'm the youngest. He was more like. Developing his career.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so he's got more freedom.
Yeah, a little bit more freedom, more time. Like I got to see him more on the weekends than my brothers did when they grew up.
Yeah.
Because my oldest brothers are 12 years older than me. Don't forget.
14, I think you said the oldest, was it?
I think actually 12, it's somewhere around there. Like I don't know exactly, because don't forget, like I was born and they were like teenagers.
Oh shit. Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So they had it rough for a lot longer than
I know
me.
you mentioned Firaz almost asked.
He asked for me then, yeah, when he was 7, he asked for a baby
So
brother.
has he lived
But like,
up to you?
like my brothers, they grew up with less in the sense that like they grew up in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, with the 3 of them with my parents. And then I was born when my dad started finally making money, and they bought a house just when I was born. You know? They grew up a lot rougher, a lot lower.
Yeah. What were you like growing up? How would people describe you? How do you think they would describe you? What did they say?
I was a big mama's boy, huge mama's boy. I was very studious. My oldest brother and Faraz, Ahmed and Faraz, really made sure that I studied a lot, made sure I went to school, and pushed me to go to university and things like that. I ended up leaving university, but I got good grades all the way up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because your oldest brother, Ahmed, he's got a PhD.
Yeah.
Firaz has done the philosophy.
Yeah, bachelor's in philosophy.
Now, I don't have any good education, so I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, but what point did you get up to, and do you feel you were ever compared to them in your education?
Oh yeah, so let's say like me, like in Quebec we have a different system than maybe in the UK.
Probably, yeah.
So us, we do high school, 5 years of high school, and then there's something called CJEP, where it's 2 years you do before you go to university.
It's the same name.
Oh, you have a CJEP?
Just different name.
Oh, okay.
A-levels we call it.
Okay, so I did that. I graduated those with honors, and I went to University of McGill. And when I got to McGill, I had a good first year, and then the second year, the gym popped off. We had a lot of fighters doing a lot of things, traveling a lot, fighting all over the world, and I was helping my brother teach the classes, and then sometimes there were 2, 3 UFC events in a row, and sometimes for us we'd go to one, I would go to the next one, and then boom, I started traveling a lot, so my grades in university started to go down because I was traveling so much and helping so many fighters out. Like it was a time Kenny Florian was getting up there fighting for the belt. He fought BJ Penn, he fought also Jose Aldo for the title. Like I was traveling with so many guys, being training partners for so many top guys, that at one point I decided, you know what, maybe I should go pro. So I had a meeting with Faraz. I'm like, listen, I think I'm gonna leave university, go pro. If I make it to the UFC before 30, I'll stick to it. If not, at 30 I go back to university. University is always gonna be there. You know? Yeah.
So I know you've got into the fighting there a bit, but I want to take a step back. Just a bit more in the upbringing. Who were your role models as well? You mentioned your brothers here who tried to keep you regimented in the education side of things.
Yeah.
Who did you look up to growing up? As a man, I feel it's important to have a good male role model.
Yeah, well, for us, is my biggest role model, biggest impact in my life. My father too. My father is a very good, honest, hardworking man. So I took a lot of that from him and my brothers as well. They were probably my biggest role models. I didn't really look at, let's say like superstars or things like that much when I was growing up. I really focused on my family, and then I grow up as best I can in their like image, what they do.
Did you find music and these kind of things to be an influence? Because if I was actually talking about it, I've got a younger brother who's 11 as well.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff they listen to and whatnot, you think, maybe might take them astray. And you guys seem like guys with, from the little that I've spoken to you and consumed online, with like strong values and morals.
Yeah.
So are you saying it came from a family, a good core?
Yeah, a good core family. Like also, we have a lot of uncles. My dad has a lot of brothers and cousins, and they have a lot of kids. So growing up, my parents we'd always hang out. Either we'd go to a family's house, like my dad's cousins or uncles, my brothers, sorry, and we'd spend time with their kids. So we got a lot of family values, or they would come over, And every Sunday, let's say, we'd always go out to eat as a family with the extended family. So we're a very close, large family. And a lot of my uncles are good people too, and my friends and stuff. We had a lot of good family members, and I think they influenced me a lot. It takes a village to raise a child, and I feel like my family was very strong. Very strong core family.
So going back into the fighting then, what age did you start?
I started training when I was in high school.
High school, yeah. So sorry, what age is that?
So it's like 13, I think. Yeah, I think I started first year of high school. I was 13.
Was that the first time you stepped into an MMA gym?
Yeah. I mean, I would go to watch my brothers train every now and then, but I never really trained for real.
So let's say age 12, you'd watch them, but you wouldn't train?
No, at age 13 I would train. But before
13.
that, I'd seen my brothers train or whatever. My brothers had been training before me. They're older than me by a lot. But I participated like very little self-defense stuff, not real martial arts. Like not martial arts for fighting, like practical stuff. My brothers tried all kinds of martial arts also at first until we found jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu wasn't super popular too back in the day, So they had done some Japanese jiu-jitsu, some self-defense, some karate, some Muay Thai. So they've done a lot of other stuff. I started with Muay Thai first. Muay Thai was my first love.
That's actually the first thing I did as well.
Yeah. I love Muay Thai.
Yeah. I hated the kicks, man. So I went into boxing.
Okay.
Just stupid, but
You like what you like.
yeah, this is true. Yeah.
More money in boxing for sure.
True. That is true. I wanted to ask you because, again, for my little brother, for me, I'm trying to influence him into these things. And there'll be a lot of kids, hopefully, who will watch. And in general, in society, it's something good for kids, right? What excited you about it? What got the 13-year-old you into the MMA gym? Like, why did you want to do
it? Really got for self-defense because my father knew I was going to high school. So my brothers teach him something so that he doesn't get bullied on it. Because me, when I was going to high school, I was actually very short for my age. I think I was exactly 5 foot tall, which is not very tall for someone going to high school. So my dad was worried and he didn't want me to get picked on. And so he told my brothers to make sure I learn how to fight and things like that. First motivation, because that's what kids are. Kids, they get emotional, they're going through their puberty, so they have all these hormones, and kids get into fights, man. It's almost like unavoidable. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. So we knew it was gonna happen. So my dad wanted me to learn for that reason. I wanted to learn for that reason too. I'm not looking to get picked on either. And it's a confidence issue too. Like if you know how to defend yourself, you walk with confidence. You don't look for fights. If fights happen, you can handle yourself. And that's responsible. Put the probability on your side. So the first motivation was just being able to go in the outside world and not get picked on, not get pushed around. I think it's very important.
But you continued and you started fighting as an amateur, undefeated amateur.
Yeah, because I got good at it. It became more fun. The better you get at something, the more you enjoy it. And then I realized, okay, there's some competitions, let me try it out. So I started winning, so then I liked it even more. And then, I started spending more time with my brothers. And spending time with your brothers is like the best thing you can do.
Was that in this gym, by the way?
It was in this gym, man, yeah.
So Firaz was training in this gym, but not teaching?
Early on, that's right. He had Angelo Xarahakis, who was his trainer before. And then Firaz took over because Angelo had a successful business. And so he started teaching less and less, and Firaz started taking over. And as Firaz started fighting less and becoming more of a coach. Early on.
Who was the main person teaching you?
Firaz. I learned everything from Firaz, really. Like he's the core of every martial art I did.
Can we talk a bit about Master Peter?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Tell us a bit about him. I'm gutted I didn't get to meet him, to be honest.
Yeah, he's a character. He's bigger than life. I'm telling you, this guy's amazing. I only started training with him later, like 15. Maybe actually 16. 15 or 16 was when I met him. But he had trained my older brothers in 1989.
Yeah.
But he had kept going back and forth between Canada and Thailand.
Okay.
So he wasn't here from 1989 all the way to pass. You know, he'd always come back 5 years here, 5 years Thailand, 5 years here. You know, back and forth. And then when I was 18, I trained with him for a nice long stretch. Then he left again, and he came back. You know, he's always coming and going. But he had a huge influence on me and my brothers. And he brought Montreal. He brought Muay Thai to Montreal, like the authentic Muay Thai. He was like a pioneer for this city.
So he was a big asset to have at the gym now.
Yeah, because he trained our first real superstars, like Victor Vargotsky. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he was a kickboxing world champion.
Right.
Peter brought him to that next level. Like he started in the Ukraine. He was already very good, and then Peter just brought him to the next level. Conrad Pla, who was one of the founders of TriStar, he became an intercontinental champion in North America through Peter. You know, Peter brought him talent, taught him how to kick, all these things, low kicks and everything like that. And he helped build the base of the school, the generation before for us. You know, so it was nice to have him.
Yeah, no, as I say, you know, rest in peace.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the videos. He sounds like a very, especially Coach Neil.
Yeah.
There's some, you know, I'm slapping him in the face.
There's a funny story with him, and I'm sure John Jones wouldn't mind to say, but I remember when John Jones first walked in here, and he was young, I think maybe 21, John Jones, I can't remember. This is before he became world champion. He was like shopping around which gyms he was going to train at, which gym was a good fit or whatever, this and that. So he wasn't a mega star yet. He was on the verge to be, and Peter just saw this big guy come in, and Peter likes to impose himself, so he wants everybody to know he's the master, and he can outsmart any of us.
Yeah.
So this guy comes in, this super athletic young John Jones comes in, and Peter reaches out to shake his hands. Of course, John Jones' first time in the gym, he goes to shake it. He knows he's a trainer, you know, obviously you can tell that he's a trainer, so he goes to shake his hand. Peter fakes the handshake, slaps him, boom, right across the face. You see,
way.
I'm too smart for you, I'm too smart.
That was his
First interaction with John Jones. John Jones took it like an amazing person. He laughed it off. He knew that, like, you know, it was just a joke. He didn't slap him hard, you know, but like he made like a whoop, boom, you know, like a little slap. It was like it wasn't like he tried to knock him out.
Yeah.
But John Jones took it super well, and they became really good friends after that. They laughed it off. Everyone laughed it off. It was all good. I think maybe somebody had warned him that something like that may happen, so he took it super well.
All right. So his character, people were well aware of his
Yeah. Before you walk in this gym, you've heard of him already.
Yeah. Well, exactly the case. I mean, I've just come to visit for a week, and I've been seeing loads of clips of him online.
Yeah, no, he's a beautiful personality. I remember one time when George St. Pierre brought in a sports psychologist, and just to see what it's like, you know. So he invited the guy here to come talk to us and whatever and see what's up, blah, blah, blah. And Master Peter's in the ring, he was holding pass for someone, and he heard that the guy's a psychologist. Do you do psychology? The guy's like, yeah. He's like, me too. The guy's like, really? What school did you go to? He's like, Muay Thai. I know psychology. So like, we all died about it. Because he's a psycho.
Yeah, so you mentioned the fighting and stuff. I wanted to ask, in that time period where you started training, so 13 you mentioned, on fighting.
I didn't start fighting at 13, I started fighting at 18.
Till the age of fighting, you know, those sort of ages, so say 13, 18 odd. I know you said you dropped out of university, which was the end result, but at the time, how did you balance your education and fighting?
Oh, I did everything. I would finish school, like when I was in high school, I'd finish high school, and I would go train if I didn't have soccer, or we played American football in first year of high school, and I switched over to soccer after. So if I didn't have soccer practice or football practice, I would go straight to the gym, and I would do my jiu-jitsu workout or my Muay Thai workout, and I would go to school the next day, and then every day I would go train 3 to 4 times a week when I was young. And then when I got to CJEP, I made my schedule so I could come train every single day, 5-6 days a week, once a day. And then by the time I got to university, I was training twice a day.
Did you have any difficulties balancing the two though?
No, I loved it so much. And plus, like,
but you still have time for family and friends and...
I did my best, man. But no, you know, the gym takes priority over a lot of things for sure. So I missed out on some stuff. Sometimes when my friends wanted to hang out, I would miss certain events, and sometimes I would take off from the gym to do certain events. But mostly the gym would win. Mostly I would go to the gym and train. I always saw like a future in it, you know. Plus, when I was young, I already started teaching private. So after a while, I didn't need a real job anymore. I would just teach privates, and I'd make more money teaching privates a few hours a week than working an 8-hour shift at McDonald's.
What age is that now?
So I teach privates when I was like 18.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, now that you've got a family and 2 twin daughters, is it? Yeah. How do you balance it with family then? You just don't have to work much. You were saying.
I mean, I don't have to work 8-hour shifts anywhere. I just come and teach privates a couple times a day, every day, really good, and then I fight. So I make my money now. Yeah.
So you've transitioned comfortably into the
Yeah, which I'm a rare case. It's not always easy.
Yeah, man, because I hear about guys doing, as you say, 8-hour shifts and then trying to train.
Yeah, and where they work security like bouncers. Or
Yeah.
things like
So
that.
how do you manage to do that, and why don't they? I know it's an abstract question because there's so many nuances, but how have you done that, and they struggle with that?
I think really because I started teaching group classes, replacing my brother, and becoming a coach at 15. So by the time I was 15 years old, for us was already traveling with Joyce St. Pierre, Yves Jabouin, David Loiseau, so many of like the first generation MMA fighters out of TriStar, that when they were gone for 4 or 5 days, I had to teach the classes.
What were you teaching though? Because you've only got 2 years.
Yeah, I was only a blue belt. Yeah, so I teach the basics. Teach the basics courses. Or I was teaching. By the time I was 15, 2 years experience. Yeah, so I was teaching basics, and it'd only be for 3-4 days at a time, right? And then they'd be back. Then the pros would teach again, and then but every time they left, I was teaching. And then when you teach, you get a lot better faster than if you're not teaching, because the stress is on. You can't go to class and teach to move wrong. So I had to study, I had to be on top of it, I had to make sure I knew my stuff. So I got very good very fast to keep up with the ability to help out the team. Yeah.
Sorry, this is a bit of a personal question.
Yeah.
And I might have to cut it out if it goes
No,
wrong.
no.
But we spoke earlier about you training and do you live far? Do you live far from here?
Now I live like 35 minutes from here.
Okay. So, but you spend a fair bit of the time in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your wife works full time as well.
Yeah.
So your daughters are looked after by your parents.
No, they're in daycare.
But do you have any? And you don't have to answer.
Yeah.
I apologize if this
No, no.
is question. I'm just curious. Do you have any? Do you think you might have some regret of not spending as much time with them?
No, I don't regret. I regret because I feel like the daycare system here is pretty good, and they're getting a lot of education there, and they have very good habits. So I don't have a problem with it too much.
Yeah.
But I do.
Because you spent more time with your mum, sorry to cut you off,
Yeah.
than they did with you guys. That's
Yes.
what.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
wish.
different.
Like, listen, I wish I made enough money so my wife didn't have to work. That'd be
Yeah.
the dream. I bet you she wishes that too.
So it's a financial thing, yeah.
It's a financial thing. It's not easy, man. You
Yeah.
know, and now with inflation coming and everything, it's much
Yeah, it's
harder than it
high.
was back in the day. Like that's what I'm saying. Like before, like my brothers grew up more poor than me because when my father came here, he came with no money. So he had to establish himself in the community and establish his business and create income. So he was out of the house working so much more than he was when I came around. By the time I came around, he was able to rent out a couple of taxis and then also work on a cab. So he was more established and had more money. Like when he lived in a house, he didn't live in a one-bedroom apartment or whatever that they lived in. I don't even know. I wasn't there. I grew up pretty good. My brothers had it much harder than me. I can't speak for them.
Do they remind you of that?
They remind me of it all the time. And actually, it was so funny because
I do that with mine.
they remind their children. They tell their children about it. And,
Yeah. Okay.
We had this. My Ahmed was telling us this story. He's telling his kids and me about how one Halloween they couldn't buy him a costume.
Okay.
So he went as like Batman, I think. But his Batman costume was a garbage bag over his a black garbage bag over his fall jacket, and they put like some kind of makeshift hat on him. So it was just him wearing a garbage bag. And we have a picture of it. And then he was looking for the picture. He found it. And he showed his kids. They're like, I can't believe you wore a garbage bag as a costume. So it's funny things like that,
But it was a signifier of the tough times they saw.
Tough times that they had.
They
yeah,
didn't just
before I came
didn't
along.
have much.
Yeah, my dad came in with nothing. So he had to really work.
No, it's inspirational, and there's a lot of, there's quite a few people like that who came over with nothing and
Nothing,
established themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you allow your children to fight,
Yeah, if they wanted
following
to.
your pathway?
If they want to,
Especially the difference is it's also daughters as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Like I was telling you yesterday, I want my daughters to grow up with me as much as possible.
Yeah.
So like my retirement plan is to open a gym that has a after school program, and I want to keep my daughters after school with me until they don't need me anymore. Until like they hit their teens, 16, 17, and they want to start doing their own thing. At least they've spent a lot of time with me, and I can pass on as much values, my family values, through them, through training and the lessons of martial arts, until they're ready to be teenagers and go involved, do their own thing.
So you'd be okay with them competing?
I have no problem with them competing. I don't think they're going to want to.
Okay.
I
Why
don't
not?
think So I feel like they're girls. Maybe they won't be as into it.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have a solid base foundation. They're gonna have the martial arts attitude, mentality, the discipline, the hard work ethic from it. I think that's more than enough. If they could take those lessons out of martial arts, it's more valuable to me than if they do decide to fight. But whatever they decide to fight, to do in life, I've spoken to my oldest brother. We're always talking about how we want to raise our kids and what we want for them. And the way I want to raise them is I want them to be the owners of the business of whatever field they decide to go in.
So
if they wanna be
self-employed.
yeah, so if they want to be a doctor, they can be a doctor, but they have to own their own practice. If they want to be a dentist, they own their own business. If they want to be a lawyer, eventually they own their own firm.
Why?
Because you might have to work longer hours on average, but in the end, you have financial freedom. You can take time off if you need to. You can shut down your business. You can open a new one. You can hire someone to delegate. You can scale your business up. If you're always working for somebody, you have to ask them for permission to take a day off. You have to ask them to spend more time with your
But
family.
there
You
are
have to ask
some
them.
benefits to that as well, bro.
There are, bro. But
Everyone talks about self-employed, you know, but I think they don't realize how hard it is. I'm sure you guys know,
yeah,
but
but we know we live with self-employed.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget, like, obviously when France was doing when we were doing the martial arts thing, when we first started out, and France wanted to buy the gym at one point. This gym at one point, France was obviously working for the gym. At one point that he realized that he was bringing in all the students. Like the vast majority of the students, the members, were his.
what year was this?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly, but around 2007 he bought it. I think. Not for sure 2007, but 2006, 2007, around then.
Right.
He bought a part of the gym at the time.
Yeah.
He didn't buy it all in one shot,
Sure,
you
yeah.
know? So I think it was around that time, and he realized, I was like, I have all the memberships. I mean, not I have all the memberships, all the members are coming from me. So either I leave and I start my own place, or I ask them if I can buy in. And the guy said, yeah, sure. He sold them a portion of the gym, and then over time, for us, bought everyone out, bought all the partners out.
So he owns the whole gym now,
Now he's the sole owner,
right?
but at first it was owned by other people. And over time he bought it, but when he wanted to buy in the first time, he didn't have that much money. I don't know exactly how old he was in 2007, but 2006. But my parents remortgaged the house.
Get it?
Yeah,
Really?
to help him.
Whoa.
But my brother is a very good, very responsible person, and my parents knew that even though it was a very risky endeavor, they trusted him that he would work round the clock to make sure that their money was well spent and that they would get it back. Like they didn't have a fear that Firas wouldn't do enough.
They trusted him.
They trusted him to be successful and to work hard enough to become successful. You know, they had that belief in him, and he proved them right. Man. He was able to pay them back, and not only pay them back, but also acquire more of the gym than he was able to acquire at the time.
And you know, having someone like that as your older brother, how was that? How was that feeling, knowing at that time your brother's really
Incredible, man. I'm so proud of him. He's somebody to look up to. You see, like I didn't have to look outside my family for a good mentor. Even to this day, for us, my mentor. Like, it's hard for me to go study under someone else or to replace for us. But I've seen for us do so much with so little. You know what I mean? I've seen him be successful in so many different avenues.
What has he taught you about training that others don't teach? I'll give you an example, sorry. Well, what I've learned from him is not going, because coming from the boxing background, it's all about going 110%. And he was the first guy that I heard saying, listen, leave some in the tank and train the next day.
Yeah.
And obviously I've only been here a few days, so I've not seen all you guys training. Everyone trains very hard, but in the boxing scene, you see people fainting, training, and like killing themselves. But he has a different attitude. So, what have you taken from him that others don't teach?
Consistency over time is going to give you a lot more than a lot of hard work in a short period of time. You know, a lot of guys, they fall apart, their bodies fall apart, their will falls apart, their discipline falls apart, because they push so hard that they burn themselves out. So it's better, my brother doesn't like us going past 80%. Why? So that we can show up the next day and still be motivated and still not be hurt and still come back. And if we can spend 10, 15, 20 years in here, we're all going to be good. Eventually we're all going to be good. So it's better to do a little bit a lot than a lot a little bit. You know? So it's better to come in every day, do a little bit, than to come a few days a week and kill yourself. You're going to burn yourself out. So I feel like that's important, longevity.
So he talks about visualization as well. And I don't want to make this all about him, but I want to ask
No,
you.
of course not. It's great.
I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on visualizing yourself as a champion and stuff?
Yeah.
And
key.
Is it really key?
It's important because you know anxiety comes from the unknown.
Really? Okay.
So you have to visualize the good with the bad. You have to focus on the good, but you have to kill doubt. Actually, I heard Mike Tyson talk about it the other day. He's like, you gotta kill doubt. You gotta kill doubt by training well, by learning the skills, but also to visualize solutions to all the problems that can arise in the fight. By problems, I mean, let's say like arm bars, triangles, right hands, left hooks, double legs. You have to have solutions for all these different aspects. And your body you can only train so much physically, but your computer can train longer and more often than your body can, right? So you gotta always train the pilot. Philosophy talks about this all the time. You gotta also train the pilot. You gotta train your body, but you also gotta train the pilot. You gotta train your mind. That's where visualization comes in. It takes you further.
So as a fighter, what are you visualizing and how often and how much, if you could put it as a percentage, how much of your,
It's less time, I guess, in a day. It would be less time in a day because say I do an hour a day, not that much.
You do an hour a day?
Yeah, especially if I camp, I can't miss it.
So what, can you talk us through it a bit? What are you thinking about?
It's like, you can call it, I guess meditating would be a good way to think about it. Like, I would either lay down or sit down somewhere, visualize the scenario of where I want to take the fight and what I want to avoid in the fight, and I have to play those scenarios in my mind at all times.
This is with a fight ahead?
Ahead, yeah.
So you know who the opponent
is? If I know the opponent, that's what I want to do. If I'm outside of that, it's all about keeping my mind clear, keeping myself positive, keeping myself focused on what my weaknesses are and how can I cover up my weaknesses or turn my weaknesses into strength, or just make them take them away from my opponent. Don't let my opponent ever get to my weaknesses. And how can I improve my strengths? What can I do to solve some other problems or create openings and things like that?
But that sounds like you're thinking about training more than, when people say visualizing themselves holding the belt. And
yeah, don't visualize that at all.
It's
not about the goal.
Nonsense,
for me, it's not about the goal. It's about the journey.
This is what I hear people talk about, though. So I want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't visualize that.
So when you're saying visualizing, you're talking about the movements you're making and where your arm is and your legs are, rather than
winning.
Because I don't know if you've heard of this concept. It slips my mind. The law of attraction.
Yeah.
I think it's bollocks personally, but I just want to.
I'm sure it works to a certain extent.
They think about it
on
and
the end. You can't focus on the end.
Yeah.
For me, it doesn't work for me. But I'm sure maybe for some people, it's what they need.
Yeah.
Everybody needs something else. Like me, one thing that turned my career around after my knockout loss was I found that mantra from this book called The Tools. I've spoken about it in my interviews too a lot. It says, I love the pain will set me free. And I just switched it to, I love the fear will set me free. Because after I got knocked out, I had a lot of anxiety about getting knocked out again. So then I just learned to accept that. But the outcome will be what it is. And luckily though, in MMA, like, fans are ruthless, but if you do a good showing and you lose, they'll still pat you on the back.
Because it's entertaining.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I've learned to deal with it. It's okay to lose. But I don't want to lose ever. But in the end, as long as my performances are good, there's no problem with losing.
It's a reflection of your hard work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You mentioned the knockout there.
I lost, yeah.
Yeah. How do you come back from a knockout? It's a totally different way of losing.
It's hell. It's literal hell. For me, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than getting to my first fight in the UFC. Harder than anything I've ever had to accomplish was to come back from that.
Yeah.
Because to me, in my mind, I was on my way to win a decision. And things were going so well. And I felt incredible before the fight. And everything in my life was good. I had just got married 2 weeks prior. And I was on a cloud 9 going into the fight. And then it was actually, I heard Kamaru Usman speak about his KO loss. And the way he woke up in the ambulance is exactly the way I woke up. Because I was watching the footage after, later on that evening, and I saw myself get up in the ring and walk out and talk, and then after backstage I was talking to the doctor. But me, I told myself just before the knockout, I'm gonna hit him with one more left hook, he's done. I threw the left hook and I woke up in the ambulance. But there's footage of me talking in the cage. I got up, I walked out front,
that's scary.
and I don't remember any of it. And the only thing I do remember is waking up in the ambulance, and I was with Zach Makovsky, and my training partner at the time. He was also in my corner that night. And I'm like, Zach, what happened? He's like, what do you mean what happened? He's like, you lost by a knockout, blah, blah, blah. He started laughing. I'm like, bro, it's not funny. Like, I really don't remember how long has it been since I got knocked out? I'm like, I didn't win? He's like, no, you didn't win. I couldn't believe it. Like, I had short-term memory loss for those 20 minutes. That 20 minutes disappeared. So I just remember telling myself, I'm going to knock him out with this last left hook, split the combo, and I was out. I don't remember anything until I woke up in the ambulance.
Was there a feeling of being knocked out?
None. No pain. It was actually the least painful strike I've ever. It's the least painful strike I've ever been hit with, and I think it's because my brain shut down. Right? I think when your brain shuts down, you don't feel the pain. But I've been hit with much harder shots. Not harder shots. I'm sure that was the hardest shot I've ever been hit. But I mean, I felt more pain from other shots than the one that knocked me out.
Have you been knocked out prior to that?
Never.
Never. So that was your first knockout as well.
First knockout experience.
How
yeah.
did it affect you psychologically?
It was very hard. Like honestly,
Coming back into training.
Coming back into training was very tough. I was very timid early on, and I had concussion symptoms. Obviously, the first while. Actually, it took a long time for me to come back, but it took me over a year to really have some type of confidence. And when my next fight after, I felt very confident going in, but once after the first round cleared, I got very anxious. And then after the second round, I was like, oh my god, don't get knocked out in round 3. And then I took my foot off the gas pedal in round 3, and I actually regret my second loss more than my knockout loss, because I didn't perform properly. I didn't perform to my best. I actually fought too timid. But I was still dealing with the PTSD from the knockout.
But you're over it now.
Now I'm over. Now I feel like I found my balance.
So how did you get over it? I don't understand that still.
When I found that mantra, I love the pain will set me free. I
You
started
just
believing
accepted that it can happen.
And I accepted that it can happen, and I said, I have to get over the fear, because I can never win as long as I believe in the fear. And then actually, one of my good friends that I was here, he helped me get over it without knowing he helped me get over it. There's a gentleman, his name is Aiemann, and he's like the number 4 guy in the UFC right now. I almost said welterweight. He's not a welterweight at all. He's a featherweight. And I decided, you know what, I want to spar him at 100%. If I can spar Arnold Allen at 100%, the guys at 135, they can't scare me. And we started going at 100%. I remember one practice, he told me, he's like, what's going on? I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to get out of my own head, and I need you to help me. And we just started going harder and harder and harder in practice, until I no longer feared him, and I no longer feared going back into fights.
So dancing with the fear made you love it.
Yeah. He's a hard hitter, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where does the confidence come from as well, I wanted to ask? I know it's a bit of a morbid almost question to ask, but what makes you think you can make it as one of the best fighters? I'm assuming that's what you aspire to.
Well, confidence for us is competence. So the better you are at something, the more confidence you can have. But then you have to take it further than that, because we also have our own self-image. So if, let's say this is my potential, but my self-image is this big, I'll never reach my full potential, because I don't believe in myself enough to take the risks I need to fight this good. But if I have overconfidence and I think I'm this good, okay, I'll take too much risk and I'll make a mistake from being too confident and try something that I'm not actually good at, and I'll play a bigger card than I have, and I'll get hurt. So when I fought Ricardo Ramos, I hadn't lost yet. So my confidence was growing. I'm like fighting Madison Square Garden, GSP is the last fight, and in my head I'm like, there's no way he can beat me. And I'm like, after round 1, I'm like, this guy's punches don't hurt. He doesn't have the punching power to knock me out.
And then you tend to switch off.
So I ended up having, by round 3, my confidence was more than my potential.
Right.
So I became cocky in there, and then you see in round 3, I blocked like 8. He came out swinging. He threw like an 8-punch combo. I blocked every single strike, and then I hit him back, boom, 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 and he backed up. I was like, he's done. I can hurt him. He can't hurt me. He can't take me down at will. The only times he took me down was when I pushed too hard. I was too cocky in my offense. I was too confident in my offense, and he countered me. And I built this confidence, this ego. My ego actually surpassed my potential, and then I threw a strike without paying attention to what he was doing, and that's how he split my combo. But if I stayed within the correct self-image, within my potential, I think I would have beat him.
How do you know where that confidence should sit?
Found that out after. I read another book, actually, I highly recommend it. It's probably my favorite books of all time. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics.
Okay.
And it's actually a plastic surgeon wrote the book.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and he explained this whole thing about self-image and where you are in terms of your potential. And he figured it out through plastic surgery, because he would refuse clients who wanted a nose job or to fix their lips or breast augmentation or to fix anything if he could talk them out of it. So when a client came in and they wanted plastic surgery, what he would actually do is try to convince them not to get it, because he believed a lot of people having plastic surgery, they don't really need it.
Yeah.
There's nothing really that wrong with
It's
their
just
nose.
society and all that.
Yeah, it's just society, and he actually thinks people are better looking than they think. So he would try to convince them to see themselves the way he saw them.
Yeah.
In a way, and there's nothing really that wrong with you. You're actually very beautiful. Or
Thank you.
have a good look. Yeah, exactly. So, and then he was explaining to how he tried to show people that where they actually should be in their self-image. And then he explains that he actually uses a rocket as a great explanation. So he's like, when you fire a rocket, it has thrusters on the side of it. because it doesn't stay on the perfect trajectory, right? Because there's wind and there's all these factors.
yeah.
So it uses a thruster to correct, but it always overcorrects. And it corrects again, and it corrects, and until it finds itself back on its path. So me, when I lost by knockout, I overcorrected by being too conservative the fight after against Fitzgerald. And then my fight with Draco, I corrected myself again, and I found myself more balanced.
Yeah, so it's just toying with it, and over time you find the spot.
That's what the experience is. Like you can learn as much as you want from a book, but until you go in the field and you do it, you don't know it. So there's a difference between knowing and applying.
That experience,
you're gonna make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Do you ever have any doubt of yourself making it? Do you ever doubt, before a fight?
Like crazy.
Like
100%. Yeah, of course. Everybody has doubt. GSP has doubts. The best fighters in the world have doubts.
How do you overcome that doubt?
I try now. What I've learned is that I seclude myself in my room fight week. I stay with my team and I just watch my fights and I watch my opponent's fights every single day. And I look for his holes and I look for my holes and I try to patch up my holes and I try to find entries to expose him. And I just deal with what I'm gonna have to face Saturday every day. Every day till I'm there fight week. I just try to face it as much as possible.
Is that not an overload for the brain?
No, I think it desensitizes me. It's like desensitizing yourself from anything, you want to desensitize yourself from murder, you watch murder all the time. You want to desensitize yourself from violence, you experience violence all the time, then it becomes nothing to you, People who grew up with a lot of violence around them, violence is nothing, they think it's normal. People who didn't grow up with violence all the time, they're shocked by violence.
Yeah.
So me, what I try to do is, I try to see the guy so much that I know him so much that if he does something in this fight that I recognize, makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because, I know him. I know this guy, man.
Yeah.
That's how I try to think of it. I try to familiarize myself with him as much as possible.
How much does Islam play a factor in the fighting?
It's good because you have to understand that if you really believe, everything is already written.
Yeah, got that.
Yeah. So the only thing you have really control over is how you deal with it. So if you're okay with that, winning and losing is already determined.
So there's almost no pressure then as well.
Yeah. There's still pressure because I'm weak. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
No man is perfect, right? So you still feel the anxiety, you still feel the pressure. You still want to live up to your potential as much as possible. But in the end, it's a battle within yourself. Yeah.
How would just wrapping up here, how would an ideal career go for you from here on in?
I would love to win the title at least once. Defend it one time, that would be a dream come true.
Do you have a time span for that?
No time, man. Patience, man. Sabr.
Because 34 as well, I'm sorry, I'm asking all the wrong questions.
Yeah, no, it doesn't offend me at all, brother. Because some of the best fighters in the world are older.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah, because it takes a long time to get good.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get
so
good.
I've still got time, yeah?
You got time. Everybody's got time, man. Everybody's got time. And it'll come for you if it's meant for you. If it's not meant for you, it's not going to come for you, man. But it takes a long time to get good. And, I'll tell you one thing, which is beautiful about MMA, is that because there are so many ways to win, okay? So many ways to lose, obviously, but
sure, yeah.
You could slow a fight down, whatever your attributes are, you can fight to your strengths. You can find a way to take the fight where you need to, if you have the skills and the knowledge to do so. So, it takes a lot of time for guys to learn who they are.
Yeah.
And then not only know who they are, but they have to learn how to bring all of their opponents into their strengths.
Fight their fight.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. And I have a lot of respect for a fighter like Damian Maia. Let's say he's very one-dimensional because he's a world-class grappler, but he ended up going to the pinnacle of MMA. And early on in his career, you saw that he was trying to be somewhat of a striker to get into his grappling. Then at one point, he threw that idea out and just used wrestling and grappling to get into this game. And he didn't try to be the best striker anymore. He didn't try to be that great of a striker. He used shooting in different ways that would force the guy to grapple. Sometimes he would shoot a single leg and sit on his butt. But now you're in his half guard, and he can use the sweep because he knows he'll outclass you whether you're on top of him or not.
Right.
And he would do it in a way where he wouldn't get hurt so much, or he would shoot a single leg in a way where his head was safe, that he would grab your leg and then eventually either sit you down, or he would sit down, and then he would turn it into a grappling match. But if you look at his overall skill, he's just really a wrestler grappler. He's not much of a striker, but he made it work for himself, and he got to the title later in life, So I feel like, and honestly, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the hardest hitter. He's not the strongest physical wrestler. Like he's not like I don't know, like a Jordan Burroughs. I don't know if you know wrestling a little bit, but he's crazy explosive double leg power, picks up anybody. You know, Damien can't do that. He can chain wrestle. He's got great depths of skill.
Yeah.
He knows how to tire you out in those ways.
So just going back to the question then, so you're 34 now, you'd like to become champion? Do you have a rough,
man.
Whenever.
Whenever,
Or is there a cut-off almost?
Not really. I'm done. We'll be done fighting by 40 for sure.
40?
Yeah.
So within the next 6 years?
Yeah.
How many more fights would you like?
As many as it takes, man. As many as I feel good with. I don't know.
As long as you're enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it, yeah. I don't have any feelings of exit yet. Yeah.
So it's just a final mix of questions. I heard Costomato say boxing is 75% mental, 25% physical. Do you think that applies to MMA?
100% does.
Can you go more into that, because you know, sometimes people just say things. Not you, but him, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how 70. Would you agree with the number, the split, 75%?
Yeah, maybe it's even more.
Really?
Yeah, it could be more.
Okay, but by that logic, most people can become the champion.
Yeah.
If they can get, let's say it's 80-20.
Yeah.
If anyone on the street can get the 80 right, they can become champion.
Yeah.
So anyone can.
Yeah, pretty sure. No, I mean, listen, not everybody has the same deck of cards in terms of physicality either.
Yeah.
So there's some physicality, right? That's where the 25% comes in. Because, you know, like, I mean, somebody who's got like a really bad, I don't know, one leg is 3 inches shorter than the other and he wobbles around. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to go in there and win a fight, you know what I mean? But if you're in the normal range to become an MMA fighter, you do have a chance because the skills come from the mind. And you have to be able to execute them physically. And you can train your body to get to some sort of physical standard, you know? Like to be in the range of athleticism, I feel like it's easier to become, to get somewhat athletic than it is to train all the skills and have the confidence to fight to your potential. Because you see it a lot, we hear about so many guys who are so great in the gym, but once they go fight, they can't fight.
They lose it, when the lights
fight.
are on.
Yeah, they can't fight. And that's what I'm talking about, self-image and the nerves and the anxiety, because so many things can go wrong. People cannot overcome the fact that they may lose in there by such a slim chance of something occurring. Like when I lost by spinning elbow, the chances of me losing that were so low. It was the second UFC loss in the history of the UFC by spinning elbow. Think about how low the probability is.
Yeah.
Extremely low.
Yeah.
And that's where the anxiety comes from, because you can lose from anything, man.
Because there's so much to it.
There's too much to it, yeah. And you can win by anything.
Yeah, as the other guy did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any fear while fighting? And is there anything that you fear more than fighting in life?
Being embarrassed with being completely outskilled. I don't want to be outskilled. Like I don't ever want to seem like I don't belong in there. You know.
You actually fear that?
That's more. It's gonna be. It would hurt me more for people to think I'm unskilled than losing again by KO. I think.
Going back on your previous point, it does seem like, as what you said there, that most people do have the ability to reach the championship sort of level. Yeah? Would you agree with that firstly? Do you think
Not anybody can do it because the mental is...
But they have the ability, right?
I mean, yeah, if they have the right, let's say, mentors and team and things like that.
I mean, just as themselves, they have the physical ability. So what I wanted to ask is, what's the difference between the guy who doesn't make it and the guy who does?
Mental.
It's just mental.
I think so.
Because a lot of people train, a lot of people want to be the best, but not a lot of people do it.
Yeah, and a lot of people have the mental too, because it takes a lot of discipline to fix your life outside of the gym as well. To put everything in order that you need to make it. Like, I mean, George St. Pierre used to work as a garbage man on his rise to being a UFC champion. You know.
Do you think there's an age where you're at like a cutoff where you can't?
I mean, if you start training MMA at 25, it's gonna be hard to make it. You know, but if you start training from when you're young, talk about from when you're young. Okay, let's say when you're young, you have a really good chance. Most people from when you're young, if you're taken to train to make this as a mission, it's possible. It's a possibility, but you can also start way too late.
Which is what sort of age would you say?
In the mid-20s to start, it's too late.
It's too late if you've got no
even early 20s
experience.
is hard, man. It's gonna be hell. Like you'd have to start young now. Like nowadays, like when I started, if you came in at 15, 16, 18, it was great time. Now kids have started since 5 years old now.
Yeah. Especially with the jiu-jitsu, right?
Especially with the jiu-jitsu and the karate and all that, but like Jersey Pierre started at 5 years old. You know, no accident. He's amazing.
Yeah.
There's no accident. He's a master of distance. He started with karate. Karate is all about mastering the range.
Right.
You know, he's incredible at the range. And he didn't start at 20. He started much younger than I did.
Just the last few questions, a bit
Yeah, of
more
course.
quick fire. Do you have any regrets inside and outside the ring? These are a bit more
My
personal.
regrets is that I was too overconfident in the Ricardo Ramos fight.
So that's
my biggest-
inside?
That was inside. And then another one was I was too timid in the
second
Morales
fight.
And outside the ring,
Just in life.
just in life, I feel like because MMA got banned in Quebec at one point, I could have finished school. Because when I decided to go pro, MMA got banned.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it was very hard. So I had a couple of dead years where I could have just finished school. I would have just had a degree. It would have been nice to have an accomplishment because now I'm basically a university dropout. You know?
Right.
But it could have been nice to have, but it was hard to predict that was going to happen and my career would have taken a stall early on.
What does this sport mean to you, and what has it done for you in life?
It's given me a beautiful life, man, actually. I got to travel the world. Got to make great friends for a long time, lifelong friends that I've spent at the gym from when I was young. You know, it's funny now, guys that I used to apprentice with in their corner. Actually, one of them was here today, Tariq Canville. I used to work as an assistant coach to my brother in his corner when he was fighting for like the world Canadian titles and things. His sons now train here, and I train his sons. So we have lifelong friendships, beautiful things like that. I'm very good networking with people in Montreal because all walks of life come and train in the gym. So I have friends in all facets of work and things like that. So it's like, it's given me a beautiful life.
We can skip this one if you want.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, because I like making it a bit difficult.
Yeah.
When's the last time you cried and why?
Last time I cried was when I lost my KO against Ricky.
You cried physically?
In the hospital. Yeah, I got there. Actually, no, that's not the last time I cried.
Okay.
The last time I teared was when I won against Draco.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, I remember I was backstage and I put my face in the towel and I started crying. And my brother comes to me and says, "Why are you crying? You won." I'm like, man, I just came out of 2 years of mental torture to turn my life around
Yeah.
and win by knockout. After everybody doubted me, there wasn't only one journalist actually picked me to win out of everybody. And it was very hard to overcome all the hate and negativity online. You know, so that was the last time I teared up. It was very emotional for me.
And the final question is, if you could give your 18-year-old self some advice, and anyone around that age watching, what's the best life advice you'd give them based on your experiences, just in general?
Just in general, discipline. You need discipline, and you need to make time for what's important in your life and prioritize what's important. Don't waste your time for things that don't truly matter. Because time is something you never get back.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very
I was
much.
going way longer than.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
And I'll drop all the social media stuff below.
Yeah.
Your like Instagram and so on.
Yeah.
Juji Club. Yeah.
JujiClub.com.
I knew before
Okay,
you did, yeah.
JujiClub.com.